Hello everyone. I just got something in the mail. This is a nice hardcover edition of the Richmond Lattimore translation of the Odyssey. I just read it again, not this book, but one of the two paperbacks I had in his translation. And then I sold them because I looked on eBay, and I think the used book stock must have been depleted, especially for the Lattimore translation. I think it's been less printed than some of the other big ones. And so the paperbacks that I had bought for like $5 were selling for like 20 to 30. So I sold those and I upgraded. I found this really lucky, actually. It was priced as if it was a paperback, and it was listed as a paperback. So someone must have made a mistake there. And then I also bought this, the Iliad in George Chapman's translation, in a really nice edition. This is actually meant to be a box set with his Odyssey, but I found a bookseller who only had one of them, and he was having like a 60% off store-wide sale. I figured with the film recently coming out, and a lot of people probably picking up the Odyssey for the first time, it's kind of an ideal time to talk about it for those who love the book, who have read it a couple times. I will say I have not watched the Nolan film yet. I just haven't had time. I don't actually know when I will, but the buzz about the film is a great excuse to go reading the book again. Honestly, it really needs no excuse. The Odyssey, like all great art, is its own excuse. I have no excuse. I should just read it again. And I expect at this time a lot of other people are feeling a similar urge right now, either to acquaint or reacquaint themselves with this ancient work of art. The Odyssey is an epic poem, probably about 2,700 years old or so, that we attribute to a blind bard named Homer. And it tells the story of the homecoming of Odysseus, a Greek hero who was pivotal in helping take the city of Troy. I say homecoming. You might find some people say his journey home. The word Odyssey has come to mean journey to us because of Homer, not before him. But if you look at the structure of the poem, his actual journey home is only about a third of its length. And more so, all of the great stories, the adventures that we associate with the Odyssey, take place in only about 4 books of the 24-book poem. The first 4 books don't touch Odysseus at all. Instead, we spend time with his family as they await his homecoming. And for the last half of the book, he is already home. The design of the poem, then, the amount of time allotted to his journey, and the way in which it is told to us, suggests to me that it is more than just an adventure story. So what does it mean to write an epic poem about homecoming? Now, I'm no scholar of ancient Greece. I can't tell you what the work meant to them. But I can tell you what it means to me after reading through it a couple times and giving it a little thought. I find it helpful to look at the Odyssey next to its companion epic, the Iliad, because the Iliad is so clear in its function. It is a national war epic. There are others of its kind. It tells the story of a series of battles that were pivotal to a war of mythical significance to the Greeks, and it raises up from those battles a great hero, Achilles. There are other epics just like it. The Song of Roland, for example, is very comparable. It has its great war, Charlemagne fighting the Muslims in Spain. It has its significant turning point battle, and a hero who is pivotal within it, Roland. He even has a sidekick, a brother-in-arms, Oliver. The two of them together kill hundreds or thousands of the enemy just between them, and they have these brutal battle moves, including cutting a horse in half, including its rider. Honestly, if you need a testament to Homer's greatness as a poet, I think you should read the Iliad next to the Song of Roland. The Song of Roland is great fun, but it is full of caricature and stereotype. The Iliad is full of people, breathing, living, and dying heroes. But merit aside, they serve rather the same function. The function of an epic of that kind is to store pieces of mythical cultural history. It is to give your men courage if they have to go and fight their own war, and a model hero to look up to, a man to aspire towards. You might even say that the two epics contain some of their respective cultures' views on the morality of war. In the Song of Roland, war is moral if it promotes the spread of Christianity. In the Iliad, the morality of war is kind of out of our hands. It is the gods who direct war, the gods and fate, and it is up to individual men to distinguish themselves, to act with courage and heroism. But either way, the function of the Iliad is quite clear. What is the function of the Odyssey? Well, my feeling is that if the Iliad encourages men to fight for their society, the Odyssey encourages men to live in it. Here I have to drift into personal experience, but I think it's an experience that a lot of people can relate to. Think about the evening, after a day of work. The winter months are stealing away the light. The encroaching evenings are reminding you that the years are passing in labor and gnawing away at every plan you've ever made. Your hands are on the steering wheel, your foot is on the gas pedal, and there's just a little tug at your attention. It's a hungry little voice that says, you could just go anywhere. I think the Odyssey speaks to that moment. In the moment when you choose for the 1000th time to go home again. Even though there is more work for you there. You do it because it's the right thing. But that's not all. I think the Odyssey suggests that it is also heroic. Go home. Play with your dog. Play with your son. Kill your wife's suitor. That is the work to be done. I think everybody at this point notices within the Odyssey the element of male fantasy. But what is important is that Odysseus is leaving the fantasies. He is leaving all of these paradise islands where beautiful women and goddesses only want him to stay and will offer him anything to get him to stay, even immortality. But for Odysseus, there is no honor in staying. There is no honor in absenting himself from his society. He says, at least once, and other characters say this also, that it would have been better had he died at Troy. He would have brought honor upon himself, he would have brought honor upon his family, and his son would have a clear path forward. He would take authority over his father's household and become a man. Stranded as he is on his paradise islands, Odysseus is filling neither role that society has for him, either to die in its service or to live in service of his family. And so Odysseus chooses to go home again and again, whether it is penniless on a raft of his own making or escorted by the greatest shipman in the world with a pile of treasures. Now, don't get me wrong, the adventure stories are great. Homer is an exquisite storyteller, but to me, the core of the work, its heart, is not Odysseus as adventurer, but Odysseus as a father. If you're reading the Odyssey for the first time, and you're not sure what to make of it, I really encourage you to look at it from that angle, as a character study of Odysseus. His essential attributes being a crafty, playful cleverness and a fatherly warmth. These are the attributes that are identified by his dead mother from Hades. Shining Odysseus, it was my longing for you, your cleverness and your gentle ways that took the sweet spirit of life from me. I encourage you, as you're reading the Odyssey, to look for those moments when behind the age-old text you sense a man of flesh and blood. Not a myth, not a type, but a man. Generally, I think that Homer's poetry is at its best when it fills out to that kind of living detail. In characters, in events, in his descriptions of the world, everything feels tactile. Everything is so characterized. Even his gods are people. And this often happens through the details that make up the intricacies of his delightful storytelling. I think of details like the super strength wine that Odysseus needs to get Polyphemus drunk, or the tenderness that the Cyclops has for the last ram that Odysseus rides out under, and the suspense when he holds him there for a little bit longer because he's used to seeing this one go out first. I think of all of the little details when Helen recounts the story of the horse of Troy, or I think of the story that Odysseus tells to his swineherd to get a cloak for the night. Also the way that Telemachus is just able to string his father's bow, but chooses not to. But because of that scene, we come to understand that he must be stronger than all of the worthless suitors that the two of them are about to kill together. These little details expand Homer's world so much, and I feel like they are lacking in many of the other epics, even the great ones. It's also worthwhile to look at the ways that he builds up his poetic imagery. Most of us can't read the ancient Greek. We can't understand his poetry at a technical level, but we can look at the places where his beautiful images still shine through, even in translation. There's a really lovely passage just before we meet Odysseus, when Hermes is running across the sea to tell Calypso the god's instructions. He stood on Pieria and launched himself from the bright air across the sea and sped the wave tops like a shearwater who along the deadly deep ways of the barren salt sea goes hunting fish and sprays quick beating wings in the salt brine. Or an image that is less lovely but no less striking is Odysseus killing Eurymachus. At the same time, noble Odysseus shot an arrow and struck him in the chest by the nipple, and the speeding arrow fixed in his liver, and his sword tumbled out of his hand, and he, sprawling over the table, doubled and fell, and on the floor the good food was scattered into the two-handed goblet. He struck the ground with his forehead in his paroxysm of pain, and kicking with both feet rattled the chair, and over his eyes the death mist drifted. The moments like that aren't constant. Homer doesn't feel the need to bombard you with them, but they are there, and they are worth keeping an eye out for. I don't have too much translation advice for you. I've only read the Odyssey all the way through in the Fagles and Lattimore translations. Of the two, I lean towards the Lattimore, I think entirely off of personal preference. There is an ease and a dignity in Lattimore's line that I really appreciate. If there is a criticism of it, it may be that it's lacking in some force and muscularity, which I think you'll find more of that in the Fagles translation. I can't speak to the Emily Wilson translation. I haven't given it a shot yet. My impression of the little bits and pieces that I've seen is it's more manneristic. You're going to be seeing more of the translator. You'll feel her presence in the text alongside Homer's, which is a deviation, I think, from what previous scholarly translations have been attempting to do. If it's more up your alley, I'm sure there are good prose translations also. I just don't know which ones are good.